1.3 million. That is the number of Nigerian visa applications the United Kingdom rejected between 2005 and this year. 1.3 million people who wanted to come here filled in the forms, paid the fees, gathered the documents, and got a letter back saying no. Now, here is the question nobody seems to be asking. If the UK keeps rejecting us in our millions, why do we keep applying? Stay with me. Because the answer to that question tells you everything about the relationship between Nigeria and the UK and what it means for every one of us already here. That is waiting to happen this day. Let me give you the full picture because the numbers are extraordinary. Between 2005 and early 2026, 21 years, over 4 million Nigerians applied for a UK visa. The UK granted 2.7 million of those applications. That makes Nigeria the third largest recipient of UK visas in the entire world, anyways, behind only India and China. But they also rejected 1.3 million Nigerian applications. That is a refusal rate of 33%, more than double the UK's global average of 14%. Let that settle for a moment. The global average, as in the global average refusal rate is 14%. For Nigerians, it is 33%. We are being refused at more than twice the rate of the average applicant worldwide. And it is getting worse, not better. In 2023, for instance, the refusal rate was 21%, the lowest it had been in years. Then, in April 2024, the UK raised the minimum salary for a skilled worker visa by 48% overnight, from £26,200 to £38,700, and they restricted dependent visas for students and care workers. Nigerian work visa applications collapsed by 68%, and the refusal rate climbed straight back up to 35% by early 2026. One decision, 68% drop. Just like that. Now I want to be specific about who these rejections are hitting, because when you say 1.3 million rejections, it can feel like an abstract number, isn't it? Of all the rejections, 84%, over 1 million people, were refused visitor visas. Not work visas, not asylum claims, visitor visas. People who wanted to come and see their family, attend a wedding, meet a grandchild, visit a sibling that haven't been seen in years. 8 out of 10 rejections are people simply trying to visit. And here is what makes that painful. We already have one of the largest Nigerian communities in the world right here in the UK. Over 270,000 Nigerian-born people according to the last census. That means there are hundreds of thousands of families split across the countries, across 2 countries, where the person in Nigeria cannot get a visa to visit the person in the UK. And every year they try again, and every year a significant number of them are told no. That is not and immigration statistics. That is a family separated. That is a mother who missed her son's graduation, a father who has never held his grandchild, a sister who couldn't come to the funeral. So, here is what I actually think. The UK has a complicated and extraordinary contradictory relationship with Nigeria. On one hand, Nigeria is the UK's largest African visa market. We apply in the highest numbers. We get granted more visas than any other African country. We are economically valuable to the UK. Our students pay international fees. Our workers staff the NHS and the care system. Our diaspora spends money in this economy. On the other hand, our refusal rate is more than double the global average. And every time the UK tightens its immigration rules, Nigerians are disproportionately affected. The UK wants our money, our labor, our talent, but it wants to control exactly how much of us it lets in. And I understand that it's immigration policy. It is immigration policy. Every country has the right to control its borders. I am not naive about that. But here is where I have a real problem. The Nigerian government has done almost nothing meaningful to change these dynamics. No serious negotiations around visa reciprocity. No policies to make staying in Nigeria more attractive than living. No sustained diplomatic pressure on the conditions under which Nigerians are assessed for UK visas. Instead, what we get is a government that celebrates the diaspora at every Diaspora Day event, talks about remittances in every speech, and then signs a deportation deal with the same country that rejects its citizens at twice the global average rate, and calls both of those things wins. You cannot celebrate the people who left while doing nothing to fix the conditions that made them leave. And you cannot call it diplomacy when the other side keeps getting more of what it wants. Now, for those of us already here, what does this mean practically? First, if you have family in Nigeria trying to visit you, do not underestimate how difficult this has become. The visitor visa refusal rate is nearly 38% right now and rising. Before your family applies, make sure they have a strong application, bank statements showing genuine financial stability, clear ties to Nigeria, property, employment, dependents, a specific reason for the visit with return travel already booked. A weak application in this climate is not just a rejection, it damages future application too. Second, if you are here on a visa that is tied to a specific job or salary threshold, pay attention to what is happening with salary requirements. They went up 48% in 2024. They can go up again. Know your position. Know your rights. Do not wait until you are in a crisis to understand your own immigration status. And third, and this is the biggest picture point, understand that the pressure to leave Nigeria is real. The UK's desire to limit who comes in is also real. And the gap between those two realities is where 1.3 million rejected applications live. The question for our generation is now not just how do we get in. The question is, where do we start, or when do we start demanding that the country we came from become somewhere people want to stay? 1.3 million rejections in 21 years. And we are still applying in our millions. Because the pool of opportunity is stronger than the pain of rejection. I understand that. I respect that. I have lived some version of that story myself. But we owe it to ourselves to see the full picture clearly. Not bitterness, not with victimhood, with open eyes. If this episode makes you think, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. And subscribe, because next week we are going even deeper on what is really happening between Nigeria and the UK in 2026. My name is Samuel. This is Wetin Dey Happen. And that, my diaspora friends, is Wetin Dey Happen.